Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second webinar between HelpShift and Backtrace and talking about automated in-game error reporting and player support. My name is Greg Posner. I'm a senior partner engineer here at HelpShift, so I work with our customers and our prospects, and I'm working closely with Backtrace to show you how we can integrate together to prove a real driven experience between players and engineers. I'm joined today by Vincent, and Vincent, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yep. Then there's me. I'm Vincent Lestenberg. I'm a technical product manager for Backtrace. So I focus a lot on like gaming, really, Unity Engine and Unreal Engine. As technical product manager, of course, I focus on the direction of what our platform does, which I'm going to show you an example after we take a look at the demonstration that we have available for you. And I engage with our customers as well to see how they're using the platform, what direction we want to take it. So yeah, that's me.
Great. And I'm excited to be here again, Vincent, with you. Last time we did this, we had a great turnout. We've seen a lot of great customers come through jointly, and we're excited to keep sharing kind of our vision of what we want to do here. And we're going to show it off again for you all today. So first of all, what are we trying to do? We're trying to provide full visibility for your customer support team. So improve self-service and provide agents with key data. There's a lot of times when players of games will reach out to customer service and ask for different questions, such as why is my game crashing, or I'm having trouble opening this. What we want to do is we want to provide agents with that key information on what type of devices that player are using, how are they interacting, what are those breadcrumbs, those last few steps that the users took, and also if we need to provide this upstream to our engineers. We want to provide automated bug tracking. So don't make your customer support team go into Jira. Not all customer service team members are excited about Jira or know how to use Jira. So we want to make sure that when a bug is opened up, that it is without the need of the engineer or the customer service rep to go in there. And it also helps when you have customers like your whales. And in gaming, whales are your players that spend a lot of money. So if they have a problem and they're spending a lot of money in your app, you are going to want to resolve that issue as quickly as possible. And with the partnership between HelpShift and Backtrace, we can automate that. So we understand which players have a specific total lifetime spend, and we want to make sure that your engineers know that, again, without your customer service rep manually having to copy and paste saying, hey, this guy Vincent, he plays this game a lot and spent $1,000 in game last month. We need to escalate this. Let's make this happen automatically. We want to be able to skip the frontline agent. Do you have VIP players that are playing? Again, those whales. Why put them through a bot or an automated workflow? Give them that white glove experience that they deserve by putting them directly in touch with an agent. And what this is going to do is it's going to improve your customer satisfaction score. You want to show your CSAT go from 3 stars to 4 stars or to 5 stars. And by taking those players that are in your game on a daily basis playing, it's going to really help you improve that CSAT score. And finally, we want to provide developers with the data that they need. And I kind of touched on this and spoiled this a little earlier, but we want to make sure that when your developers are taking a look at why a user is crashing, that they are getting the information that they need. Things such as what version of the game are they using? What OS are they on? Are they up to date on the OS? Are they on Wi-Fi? Are they on cellular? And so many other data points that developers need. And what we want to do is we want to make a seamless transition from the customer support team to the engineering team, because sometimes things get lost in communication. So the more we can automate between the two without having the two having to actually deal with each other, and that's customer support and engineering, the quicker it will be to resolve any types of issues that are coming in. And I just spoke a lot, so I'm going to hand it over to Vincent to say, did I miss anything? Do you want to throw anything else out there?
No, I don't really think so. I mean, the concept of the whales or treating players in a different way is definitely interesting, and being able to reach out to those in a different way. It's something that without HelpShift is something in Backtrace that we struggle with. It's hard to reach these customers in the way that they prefer to be reached out to, especially in the same channel, right? So if they're playing on PlayStation or they're playing on their mobile devices, you don't want to like take them to like a different type of, like, you don't want to call them or have like an email chain going on, because that just takes you out of the flow. So that's something that's really valuable, and something that I hear a lot of my gaming customers talk about because you just want it to be part of the game experience. And that's both for the AAA studios and more for like the indie developers as well. Like indie developers nowadays have a lot more of an active community. They like stream their launches on Discord, and having that for indie developers is just as important as for the larger studios because it just creates a lot more. Your players become more enmeshed in your community. They're not just playing the game; they're like engaging with your team as well, and that just increases loyalty. So
And I think
yeah,
that's a great point that you touch on. I would say it's probably more important for indie studios because sometimes indie studios don't have the bandwidth to hire a lot of support team or customer support team members. So you're able to automatically generate, hey, this is a gameplay issue. Let's automatically open this ticket. And sometimes the engineers are doing customer support work. So by automating this and creating those tickets automatically, it lets them have a little bit of breathing room between having to hire a customer support team right out of the gate and let your engineers kind of, sorry engineers out there, but provide double duty of customer support and engineering in the short term until they can start hiring some support team members.
cool.
uh, so let's talk about who is HelpShift. So HelpShift is an omni-channel customer service platform. We were built mobile first, and it's important for us to make sure that we continue to stay mobile. We have battle-tested SDKs, whether you're talking about Unity or Unreal or just native Android or iOS. And we are all in app. We never want to take your users out of app. It's important to make sure that that experience is seamless and built into the workflow that your app is built out today. And it's asynchronous chat as well. So you don't have to have live chat. You don't have to sit there and say, hey, you're 50th in line. You can start a conversation, you can leave, and then you can come back at a later time and continue that conversation. We try and automate satisfaction. So self-service, partial automation, full automation. We're all about creating workflows that allow for players to provide the quickest way to resolve their issue that they have, whether it be a bot or talking with a human or just an FAQ. These bots and FAQs are compatible in over 180 different languages, and we focus on intent and AI to help navigate users to the quickest way to resolve the issue that they're looking for. And for the agents, we want to provide them superpowers. So we have intent classification. We have ways to carry that data over to the agent so they don't have to have that back and forth with the customer. So that goes back to things like device type. If you think of a player that maybe plays card games and is playing solitaire, playing free cell, and they say, hey, what OS are you running? It might take them a little while to find out, hey, I'm on the iOS, I don't know, the latest iOS because I'm an Android user, but maybe I'm on Android 11,
15.
something like that. We also want to make sure that the agent has tools to quickly resolve issues. So things like macros in app to quickly respond, bulk responding, and also queuing. And that's where you can have those queues for VIPs, for very important, I guess that's VIPs, but your players that need that
Right.
help. You can really route that quickly and easily. And so that's what HelpShift is. And we want to continue to help grow out our customers by providing them the tools needed and integrations needed to make sure that their end users have a great experience in app.
Gotcha. I would assume that right now for you guys, like the majority is on mobile, right? Like a lot of these things that you're talking about, the omni-channel, like reminds me of mobile. Like how large is that share?
So I'd say mobile makes up probably 80% of our
Wow.
customer base. Most of our customers at least have a mobile app. It's funny because we support more than mobile. We support voice. That's an odd one that we support. But if you some of our gaming companies for their VIP players provide voice support because maybe they're
Okay.
online casinos, right? And they want to have that place
Oh
where
yeah.
so you have a way where you can start a conversation in app, and if you want to escalate it to voice, you can actually just say click here to make us to call us. So for a
Hmm.
mobile company, you don't have to actually show your mobile number. You can just basically put it behind a gate, and for those users that need to call you, you can provide that option. But we do have full web support. We do have full PC desktop that we'll take a look at today, web support as well. So we're starting to also expand into those areas as well. But most of our companies, we were built mobile first and we'll never leave mobile behind.
Gotcha. All right. Let's dive into Backtrace a bit. So Backtrace and HelpShift, of course, like we have this webinar because they combine well, but like what's the part that HelpShift takes care of and what is Backtrace focused on? So Backtrace was born as a cross-platform error capture platform, really. So what you're thinking, what you can think of here is like any, and especially we're talking about mobile a lot, but think about your PlayStation as well. Think about your PC games. Whenever there's a problem with that, either like a very serious problem as the game completely shuts down, or there's just like a more minor error or a hang or something like that. What Backtrace provides is an automatic capture of that. So no longer, even if you're in playtesting or something like that, having to capture that manually or some stuff, it just happens for you on the background. So we focus on not really relying on player reports and manual interaction. So there's something interesting that's happening here because we are talking about player interaction, right? So sometimes it's not as much of making a choice between the two, but using automated where possible, and then like sort of dipping into the manual interaction when it's really needed, and that's something that's possible with HelpShift. So all the contextual information, you saw that for HelpShift as well. As a crash solution platform, Backtrace is more broad than HelpShift is. So HelpShift captures information about indeed like, okay, what's maybe your iOS level, some details about the device, but like we capture 3 to 5 times as much information about the device. We generally have a lot of details into the game engine that you're using as well. So if you have a Unity game that's running on mobile or something like that, we can show more memory information, heap information that requires like a deep and a tight integration into Unity that you can just have with a generic platform. So it's great that we collect all of that information, but you want to do something with that. So that's where the second column comes in, quick and accurate data. So the moment that data comes in, it can be like hundreds of thousands of errors. What we want to do for you is deduplicate that. So group it in a way that you already see that these, like let's say 50,000 errors actually have the same root cause. So I don't have to look at all of them individually. I don't have to store them all individually. I know just based on the deduplication that's provided by Backtrace that it's the same issue. So I can just treat them all in the same way. And it can be associated with my ticketing solutions such as Jira as well. Remove noise and surface the most important signals. With Backtrace, we're always talking about improving the signal to noise ratio. So some of the things can be really easily deduplicated away, right? There's a clear root cause. Reality is not such that that's true for all of your problems. You might have memory problems, and whenever you have memory problems, like weird side effects start to happen. So what we make sure is that we allow you to sift through your data, even if it's hundreds of millions of like records of reports, but to look at data from different perspectives. So you can compare, like for example, graphic cards, your exact application version, all things that we're going to explore a little bit later. Last, what's really important is that we integrate into your workflow. So it's one of the top 3 reasons that our customers go for Backtrace, because they don't want like just an island with exceptions just like somewhere. They want that integrated into tracking, notification, messaging systems. They want alerting set up. They want like statistics, metrics out of that into their own dashboards. And that's one of the things that we're majorly focused on. So whatever solutions you're using, your Discord, your Slack, your Jira, things like that, we can very easily integrate that and expose that data to wherever you need it. So real-time analysis comes into the analytics engine. What we're focused on is like even if you have launch day and there are thousands, well maybe not thousands, but like we run into situations where it's up to 1,000 errors per second coming in, because there's a whole like army of players trying to play your game. We make sure that our UI doesn't grind to a halt, that you can still see the trends that are happening, that you can zoom in and you can zoom out. It's also very important to see trends over hundreds of millions. But think about the whales that Greg was just talking about. Generally, especially in this day and age of like the crypto games and the play to earn and stuff like that, you know that there's going to be like a couple of players that drive such a large community or such a large part of your game, or maybe you have influencers playing your game and you know that. What you can do is as well as you can very effectively track an individual player. What were they doing during their session? What were the problems that they encountered? What led up to those problems? So it's both the granular view and the all the way zoomed out view. We mentioned as well the grouping and filtering and the attributes. I mentioned that there's some things indeed that Helpshift captures. What Backtrace does is allows you to capture a lot of more metadata from the game engines as well as your custom information, such as what was the level that I was playing, what was my health, did I upgrade my base, how much tokens did I have in game. All of these things can be very easily augmented into there. So now I've been talking for a while, so why don't you go ahead, Greg, and take it forward.
In the previous slide or 2 slides ago, whenever it was at this point, I was kind of talking about when indie games get started. You have your engineer that might be doing double duty of customer service as well as engineering. So when it comes to a tool like Backtrace, when do you typically see the ideal time to start implementing the SDK? Is it maybe right after your beta launches? Is it before your beta launches, or when you're testing in different markets, or when you're fully out? Because you get different types of errors throughout the work right. the game cycle. So when makes the most sense?
The most sense is the moment that the game leaves the developer's workstation. So the moment that, if we're talking about Unity, the moment that you make a build, so you're not running it in the Unity editor, that tends to be like the right moment to do that. So it can be as early as in QA. Reason for that is the moment that you're running it on your desktop, you don't have like a specific fixed build. The moment that you want to, you experience a crash and you want to see all the details for that, you need to have the symbols loaded for that. For those development builds, you don't really always have that. But basically, whenever you promote something to QA. The question sometimes I get around that is like, hey, in QA, generally, I don't really get that like large of a volume of errors that I really need an automated solution to process through that. Generally, it's really handy to have that data anyways, because you can correlate it with whatever happens in subsequent steps. Like, for example, if you see a problem happening in production on a specific device, and you can correlate that with something that you were doing during QA or during playtesting, that can actually be very valuable. And obviously, as it is for many of these things, you want to start early to iron out on any problems that you have. You don't really want to start this in production and then discover that you forgot to turn on that capture screenshot checkbox. And then that would mean that you have to update your entire client, push it out to your different players. So I think you want to start early to make sure that you're capturing the right data for your game.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about why we're here today. So we're talking about how the past leads way to the future. So Helpshift, we were born mobile. Our goal was to improve the player experience. We want to make sure when your gamer is on the customer service journey, that it's smooth, it's an app, and it's easy to use. And we want to make sure we capture all that data. And with Backtrace, they were focused on basically all channel or all consoles, right? So PC, console, mobile. Their tool, their bug tracking platform is available on all of these platforms. So no matter what you're using, you're able to integrate Backtrace and seek similar logs from across platform. It's created for the engineer. We want the engineer to make sure that they understand what types of issues that they're seeing, what players are reporting it, what's coming out of nowhere, what Vincent just explained on why you go on early, so you can start capturing this data from the beginning. And all logging data, just in general, understanding what's happening, being able to group. I can't remember the last time I went to Windows logs, but you see 800 entries of the same thing for Windows logs, and it's like, all right, let's consolidate these. Let's sum it up. What's the issue? And I think Backtrace, I know Backtrace helps you do that. So between the two platforms together, we wanted to provide a seamless experience for your end users, no matter what platform they're on. If you're on a PS4 or PS5, I guess these days, and you have an issue, if you're on an Xbox Series X, if you're on mobile, if you're on desktop, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same seamless experience for your players when it's time to report an issue. Skip the agent and get engineering all the data that they need. I can't tell you the amount of times that engineering and support have gone back and forth saying, hey, what device is it? What OS is it? Kind of the things that we discussed in the beginning, right? So let's make sure that we get the engineer all the data that they need so we can improve the average handle time of a ticket, so customer support doesn't need to go back to the end user or the gamer that often asking them questions. It becomes frustrating for both parties. Right. You can report on like issues across platform, and I think this is a huge one.
One of the things with Backtrace that we often talk about is mean time to detection and mean time to resolution, and that really plays into this really, really well. Mean time to detection being like how much time does it take for you to know that there's a problem anyway. Anything that is reported automatically, it's kind of like obvious that the detection is faster. And you see that one of the main drivers of mean time to resolution, especially if you like count it from when the issue was actually occurred on the player device, being able to detect it really soon with all the data makes it so that that mean time to resolution is greatly improved as well. With help shift, like one of the things that you can add to there is like it's great that an issue is resolved at one point, but how much time does it take for it to land on the player device? And that's another thing where this partnership works really well, because the player needs to know that their exact issue was fixed in a new build, and all they need to do is either update or refresh their app, log in again. But as long as they don't do that, technically you still have the issue.
Yeah. And we also, what we want to do is make sure that agent has context when speaking with the customer. So provide them that Jira ticket so they know what the status of the Jira ticket is. Provide them the Jira status directly in that conversation. Provide them the number of issues that have related to that Jira issue itself as well, right? So rather than making your support agent log into Jira, provide all that information directly in platform, so allowing them to stay in help shift and allowing your engineer to stay in backtrace/Jira to make sure that all the information that they need is there for them. So why are your players or customers reaching out? I think this is a big big one here. So at HelpShift, we collect player intent. What we do is we're able to see that question that all your gamers are asking, and we're able to do is analyze them into categories. You'll see the largest category we have on here are gameplay issues. This means when people are reaching out to your customer support issue or your customer support team, that gameplay issues is the number one issue that they're facing. And what's that mean? Well, when we ran our data, we saw that it broke down to arena gameplay bugs, freezing, shutting down, connection issues, some of them being game not loading or lagging, or time issues. So if you're attacking something, this is kind of a black hole. It kind of says, hey, these are gameplay issues. And if you're a customer support agent, you're starting to think, all right, what kind of questions do I need to ask my team to get a better understanding of why there is a gameplay bug, or why did that tool just shut down? And as someone that was once a customer support agent myself, it becomes kind of frustrating because you know it's not fun for you as the agent. It's also not fun for the end user, the player itself, right? Like, all right, what were you doing at the time? What, again, normal phone data,
Right.
what type of phone do you have? And
What level were you playing? Yep.
exactly, right? There's questions that could be asked for hours, and you as the gamer know, all right, this is kind of a silly question. Like, I'll reboot, but I know it's not going to solve it. So what's going to happen here is we're going to start utilizing backtrace, because all these errors, all these issues in game are logged. So they all have some sort of fingerprint on the back end that we want to be able to capture. So rather than making your customer support agent start asking all these questions, let's just create that ticket or see if that ticket exists in backtrace, and backtrace can actually start to uncover what do these actually mean, what are the root causes of this. Seem to cover that.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a great experience for both parties, because I think this is a great experience for both parties, because as a gamer, I'm going to get my question escalated or set to the right department without having to answer all these questions that are just kind of,
Irrelevant. Yep.
yeah, irrelevant. Time sucks. As a customer support agent, I don't have to ask these questions, which I know are irrelevant, and they're going to automatically open a ticket with engineering. And for engineering, I'm getting the ticket, I'm getting the fingerprint, I'm getting all the data about the device, I'm getting the fingerprints, and Vincent can probably go on for another hour of all the different data that's being captured about the actual error itself. So we're getting the root
Screenshots.
cause to the issue right out of the gate without having to go back and forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine that user and developer first experience. So whether it's an OS update, there's a ton of issues that can just cause your device to start having an issue. So we want to provide that front end with HelpShift that provides an easy way to open your issue, talk about what happened, and provide the details of the state they were in. From the engineering perspective, they're going to just get that data that's important to them. They don't care about the full conversation between the agent and the gamer. They just want to know what type of user is it, what were they doing, the breadcrumbs. So we're providing this in-app experience, providing the best experience for your gamer as well as your developer by getting them the information that they need. With that, do you have anything else to add, Vincent, before we go to our last slide before the demo?
The only thing that I would like reiterate is it mentions it here as well, the handle time, the CSAT, and stuff like that. How much the fact that you can communicate that immediately to your customer impact that as well. It's not just about fixing the issue and having like the updated app in the app store. It's getting that on the player device and the player knowing that the issue has been resolved. The faster you do that, the more that becomes like actually an opportunity to increase the loyalty, because the moment that you see that a company has taken your issue, has fixed it, and notifies you that the problem has been resolved, I don't know about you, but that would drive me to immediately test it out again and keep playing. Gives me a good feeling about the brand. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
quite important.
from my personal experience, a few weeks ago, I was playing a battle royale game, and the game just had an update, and I was having lots of issues with it. So I tried to open a support ticket, and it bounced me to the web, where I had to go through a forum to try and find what was going on in the forum, and to create a ticket, I had to send an email, and I was just like, it's not worth it. If I want to play again, I'll try again in a few days. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, doesn't. It just becomes a point where, all right, I can't put more time into this, so it is what it is at this point. So yes, but the experience itself can help improve CSAT and all the other things that are important to my players and to my team. So what are we going to look at today in our demo? So we're going to look at two different workflows. The first one is going to be a mobile device playing. It's going to be the same game between the first two use cases. So players going to be playing a bubble shooter game. It's going to crash. We're going to open a support ticket. The second one's going to be a desktop, same workflow, so you can see what it looks like from both web and desktop and how it's the same experience for both. So with that, what I'll do now is I will share my phone. So you're going to see the night shift game that we've created here at Helpshift that allows me to kind of jump in. So I'm going to hit play now, and you'll see I'm on my second level. So I'm going to start the game here. And this is just a simple bubble shooting game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start shooting some bubbles here to get a better understanding of just trying to beat the game here. And what's going to happen here is my game's going to crash and bring me back to my menu here. So what I'm going to do now here, the way I created this workflow is I am going to launch the app again here. I'm going to click the support button. You'll see I have a little notification at the support. So I'm going to click that, and you'll see it says, "Hi Greg, it looks like you have experienced a gameplay issue. Can you please confirm?" So we don't want the player just to say yes or no, I was having an issue, and it will work them down that workflow.
Oh,
So
cool.
we'll wait for the bot, and it says, "This is a new issue. We'll be providing logs to our engineering team to review." Then we ask for a few details. I'll just say I was shooting an orb, uh, and I crashed, or the game crashed. So now at this point, as a gamer, I'm just going to say no, no other feedback, and I'm going to just wait until I hear back from the support team. You'll see I get a notification saying we let the team know, and they'll follow up once the issue is resolved. So at this point, from my mobile game, the ticket is now in there.
Nice.
Yeah, seamless to
Good
me.
experience.
If you wanted to provide other types of information, like if you wanted to say, hey, this was a memory leak or this is something else, you can.
Right.
I don't think you want to let your gamers necessarily know what type of issue you have.
Gotcha. Yeah, and to feed back to the first webinar that we had, we focused more on like iOS. I do see like the experience with Android is very much the same, and all provided through an SDK that you can simply import. So for both Backtrace and Helpshift, it's important to know is what you're seeing here. It's not a ton of programming work, just included into your game quite easily, and then you get this whole support interaction, chat interaction quite easily in there.
Yep, exactly. So now what we'll do is, before we even jump to the Helpshift platform, let's go through the same workflow, but on the desktop game. So let me launch my desktop game here. So I'm going to hit play now, and you'll see I launch a much more zoomed in version of the game here. So I'll hit level 1 here, and I'll hit play. And yes, Knight does not have far to throw, but he's throwing his little orbs. One gets stuck on my knife. I'm gonna hit this little button here that causes my game to crash. So now my game has crashed, and I'm back in my home screen. So now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to restart the game here, and I'm going to go through that same workflow once it launches to basically hit the little question mark. Now, because this isn't in our desktop game, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. There's different ways for this workflow to work. In this case, what I'm actually doing is I'm bouncing the user to the web. So now the user is going to be on the website for HelpShift, and you'll see what happens is you'll see once the website loads up, I am prompted with the same thing. It looks like, Greg, you might be experiencing an issue. Here I'm on my help center. I have access to all that stuff. I'll hit yes. I experienced a gameplay issue. This time the messaging is a little different. It says we're going to notify our engineering team and we'll follow up once the issue is resolved. Notice we didn't say
Uh-huh.
this is a new issue and we didn't do that. It's a different workflow because we see that issue already exists from within the platform.
Okay, that's an important difference as well. What I would like to know as a player as well. Like the moment that I hear from customer support, "Hey, we know about this," like that immediately gives me a little that confidence and makes me feel like I'm less alone. So it's good that that can be added to that chat automatically.
And I think the most important thing to take note of is that these workflows are customizable. This is how we did it for this specific webinar. It was a little different for the last webinar. Every game, every workflow is kind of like a snowflake. They're all different, right? So you want to make sure you
Right.
provide the right journey for your customer base, whether it's letting them know the exact error, sorry, letting
Right.
them know the exact error that's going on, or whether being vague. It's completely up to you. So now what happens is we'll jump to the HelpShift platform. So now you're going to see the HelpShift platform here. You'll see I have two issues in my queue right now. I have in my open Jira issue queue. So I have a specific queue, and I'll show you how that's built in a minute, that shows the different types of issues that are coming in. So here
Right.
you'll see my web-based version. I see my name and my email just because that comes through because I'm authenticated in the game. I can look at
Right.
my custom issues, right? So what level was I on? What segment am I? So am I a VIP? Am I not a VIP? What was my player
Gotcha.
ID? Lifetime spend. This is my Backtrace ID. This is called a GUID, and this is what allows us to talk to Backtrace and make those changes. And all these other
Right.
pieces of information, right, that are important to me and important to my gamer. And if I want to send this information to an engineer, I have that ability to. We also
Right.
have metadata, which let me go to my mobile device because metadata is better on a mobile device. But again, mobile device, you'll see it's a little Android guy down here. Same type of information comes through, but a different player here. And then we have
Yep.
metadata, right? So it shows me my Android, what version I am, what my device is, my name, my email, um, and all the status about my phone itself, right? Anything that might be important for an engineer to start debugging the device is all available here. So it's
Right.
really quick and simple to once a ticket is created. So you'll see what happens here is in this conversation with the agent, it actually links. This is the Android one, so this is the one that came
Mm-hmm.
through first. So it created the Jira bug. We'll see GDB2. It actually tagged it GDB2, so I have that here. And I have 0 users affected. If I look at the web version here, I have the Jira bug again, and I have 1 user affected. So I can start to get a
Yep.
better understanding of the number of users that are having this issue. The yellow box means it's only visible to the agent itself, so you can provide all the agent you can provide the agent all the information necessary to properly work this issue.
So let's talk a little bit about what's happening here, especially for the people watching this webinar who have like a mobile game and where what Backtrace does and what HelpShift does. So what you see here is HelpShift actually reaching out to Backtrace because finding out what the exact problem is, it seems like a very easy thing to do. Like you see the problem and you know if whether there is ticket or not, but there is actually more um, work behind the scenes that's going on, right? Um, the deduplication that I talked about earlier is really what's at play here. So what happens the moment that Greg hits that problem in both the PC version and mobile version is any and all error is being sent to Backtrace continuously. So those are like the silent errors, but these serious ones that we just saw as well, like the game crashing. Another one that's very serious is a hang. So the moment that Backtrace detects that the render thread has been blocked for a number of seconds, that's reported as well. So the same could apply. So the moment that the user interacts with the support channel, what Helpshift actually does is reaches out with that player ID and basically asks, has anything serious happened in this past time frame? Is there something that happened to that player? In the back end or in the background, that crash has already been processed. What Backtrace has seen is the fingerprint of what happened, basically the call stack in combination with a couple of other attributes, led to the situation that for that first game, it was a new issue. We've never seen that before. And the second time that it happened on a different platform, we could actually see, although it's a different platform, it's the same underlying problem. And that's in the second instance why it was able to communicate that issue already existed. And just as another thing that I wanted to highlight, Greg, can you show very quickly the metadata that's being captured for Android? So although these details are very important, especially for to get an overview of where that is happening, keep that in the back of your head. So after we're going to take a look at Backtrace, and we'll see that approximately 5 times as much of information is captured compared to what we have here. So there's important information here to get an indication of what the user was doing, but there is not that much information that's specific for your game. I can see what level of the bubble player I was at, what avatar I was using, and things like that. What we can see in Backtrace is that more information like that is going to be available. All right, that was my shtick, Greg. Back to you.
No, that was very, very important to say, because getting this information and having more information on the other side and being able to connect the two dots is very important to kind of put the full picture together. So what I'll do now here is I'll actually go side by side here. So you can see this is my night shift. Yep. So we're in the web version. That's why things aren't making sense. But here we are. So here's our 2 versions here saying we're going to notify the engineers. So when it's time to resolve an issue, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to manually close the issues. You can automatically do it, but because it's an issue, I want to kind of show some hands-on. I'm going to come and edit issue. What I'll do is I'll assign, or I will mark it as resolved. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to the customer saying, this issue is now resolved.
And this is like a really cool thing because it's something that our gaming customers are asking for, that we have been working on like functionality to expose that. But as a crash and exception management platform, Backtrace is like basically focused on acting in the background, not being seen. It reports, but it doesn't want to interrupt the user flow. So it's not something that we have like a lot of, we don't have a UI for that and stuff like that. So the fact that you can do that here from the web, it's all integrated, is actually really great, because that means that if you have that combination with Helpshift and Backtrace, that's actually something that we don't have to provide in our SDK. Helpshift already does.
Yeah, and what we then do is once the issue's closed, we provide a customer satisfaction score here. So I'll come in and I'll say it was nice. 5 stars. I'll say very seamless experience, great experience, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm not creative right now, and I'll submit that, and I can see that information come through. So we now captured that CSAT for that information. We get a good understanding of how long the ticket actually took. So from the agent perspective, I didn't automatically set up a rule to close this issue. I wanted to manually do it, but you could have created this whole experience without actually ever needing the customer support agent to get hands-on with the ticket. So I think that was one of the beautiful parts of this experience, is that engineering, because of the Backtrace logs, were able to resolve this issue and basically automate the closing of this ticket.
And might sound like a broken record, but to talk about mean time to resolution and detection and stuff like that, I realize how important it is from seeing how effective your customer support is as well, to see that the user has accepted the solution, which means like the bug has been resolved. And I don't know if it's other people that are experiencing this with their game companies. What we see in Backtrace is whenever we have, like, our SDK has a problem and we have to fix our own SDK, getting that confirmation that the customer has imported the version, that when they previously had that issue, and that they see, well, okay, now it's fine, and that to be very seamless without having to like write an email or something like that is actually super valuable. And there's a lot of people in your org that are probably going to be happy that that metadata is captured, because it's another statistic to drive, because the faster you get that recognition from the customer, the better, or the gamer in this case. All right, so let's take a look what that resulted to in Backtrace. So I logged into the Helpshift instance project gaming demo, and I'm on a dashboard right now that clearly shows that there was just an uptick with errors over time, just as we were recording this. So what is the information that Backtrace gives you? In addition to the error that we're going to take a look at like more in detail in a bit, what Backtrace focuses on as well is not just giving you an overview of the errors and the exceptions that are happening on your platform and crashes, but it specifically shows you as well how many error-free users you have, because ultimately what you want is this percentage to be as high as possible, right? In this case, this is a demo or a small example, like we don't have a ton of players. I'll have a more populated environment more towards the end of what I'm showing here. But what we track is not just errors, but as well as just players starting the game. So we keep track of all the users that are engaging. So basically every time that a user starts your game, Backtrace gets a signal of that, and we calculate like metrics on that, as well as for your application launches. So it's your active users and your application launches. Sometimes there's a difference between that, right? Because if one user launches their game a ton, but they keep having problems, these metrics are going to be able to show that for you. Greg already mentioned the terminology of fingerprint, which in Backtrace is the terminology that is used for a group of errors that is associated with each other. So if you're getting a lot of players, like right now we just of course have Greg, but if you have a lot of players that are having the same problem, that will result all in individual groups of errors that are identified with a fingerprint. You see as well which one are in progress, so that means that a Jira ticket has been created for them, but more details on that in a little bit. What you get as well is you get the overview, so a time series of errors over time. I'm currently showing you the total. If we had different versions of the game running, which I'll show you in another example later, you can see like how are my different versions doing. We keep track of your error-free application launches in a time series as well. So in this case, like if no one was playing, that means like everything is 100% or 0% crash-free, depending on how you look at it. But you see, like as we're doing the demo, that rate like changes. So you see here that my error-free percentage went down to 76%. So this can be like really, really useful as well. So as you're looking at this and you're launching a game and you're expecting users to have issues with that, this can be a very important metric to see how your new version is doing. Or maybe if you had like some kind of outage on a backend or something like that, you can see what the impact on your users was. So that's something that you get in addition to that. But to get like a little bit more on track on what we were doing with the demo, I'm going to switch here to the triage view. The triage view, here we can see the tickets that were, the Jira tickets that were associated basically with that. And that is actually where Helpshift retrieved that data from. So in this case, if I open up this crash, we see that we have 7 in total. They're all merged together in this single fingerprint. We see that this is a crash that happened on Android. So what I mentioned before is, although Helpshift collects the most important information, we have a lot more. So detailed, in some situations, detailed memory statistics, information exactly about the full name of the operating system, exactly what you're running, information about the device name and stuff like that. You get information as well on how the user got to that error, right? So that's what we call breadcrumbs. So you see, for example, which levels were being loaded. So the advantage here is, like in our example, what we exposed to Helpshift, we focused on showing the Jira ticket and the amount of users that were affected. But any of this information is available through the API. So that means that if we want to show what screen the player was on, what level the player was playing, what class the player was playing, like warrior or warlock or something like that, That is information that can be captured in Backtrace and source basically here. So here we mainly see navigation items that are automatically added for Unity games, as well as like pauses and stuff like that. Attachments are captured as well. So in this case, for the Unity SDK, you can include screenshots as well, which again provides a valuable angle. Your customer support rep could get the ability to write there when a user is interacting with that support chat to actually see a screenshot of what was the problem that that player was encountering. Some situations, customers that I work with in how do you call it, playtesting, actually capture a video. So there's constantly a video being captured the moment that there's a problem. It saves the 5 seconds of video leading up to the crash and then submits it with the bug report. Just imagine having your customer agent having access to that. Even if it is not exactly the problem that this individual user was encountering, but it is the same group of errors. So in other words, Backtrace has detected that it is the same type of problem that still gives a lot of context and information for either to automatically interact with that player or through actually a human actor in this case. So there's
attachments. It makes such a powerful tool to be able to understand what a player was doing, seeing screenshots of kind of where they were at. I imagine this makes troubleshooting things so much easier than, and again, that back and forth just by being able to see it. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. Let's take a look very quickly at one of the PC crashes as well. Of course, there are things that are going to look slightly different depending on the platform. So let's, for example, take this one. So what we see here is that sort of the data that's captured looks similar, but what we immediately see here is that it looks a little bit different because it runs on Windows. We saw on Android that libc.so, just Android stuff. Here in for a Windows platform, we see like NTDLL instead. We see as well that some of these addresses are basically, I just have a register address and I have no clue what's going on. So that means in this case that symbols were not present. So why am I talking about this? Is generally if you capture especially crashes on devices, it can be really hard to get data that actually shows you where in your source code that happened. So in this case, Backtrace can do that for you automatically. So basically fill in from that register address that you can't really do anything with to the function that was being called. So in this case, Greg invokes the force crash function, which kind of gives away what the problem was, obviously. And in these situations, you could link it to Git or something like that. And in the source tab, it would highlight the source code, like basically responsible for that as well. What the great thing about the multi-platform thing is that you see the exact same breadcrumbs that are being captured for Windows as well. So it doesn't really matter if I'm doing this on iOS, on Android, on PlayStation. I still get these breadcrumbs showing me what my player did leading up to the crash. I'm actually going to show you that in another environment where I have a little bit more data. And this is very important because a lot of gaming companies run into problems analyzing different versions. So what we can do with Backtrace is we can actually compare different application versions with each other. Right now I'm filtered only on 3.0, and I can pull in a lot of information that gives me context on how that error was happening. So for example, of all of the different crashes on different platforms, I can say, hey, I just want to see, I want to compare when that game crashed in its life cycle. So for example, for this 2.10 version, I see that it crashed all the way in the beginning. I see as well as that 25% of the users on this version experience this problem, or experience problems, I should say. So it's a lot higher of a percentage than we see here. So that's also those crash-free metrics that I spoke about earlier that captures players just playing the game versus the ones that are actually countering an error. Going into more details about the game that you're playing, I can pull in the information on what level that player was playing. So in this case, I sort of see smoking gun evidence that there is a problem on this house select screen. So on this histogram, I can very clearly see that 90% of my errors are happening there. Like I said, there's much more detail that I could go in, but what I'm really trying to do is paint a picture of all the data that is present, that is very specific to your game, specific to Unity, and specific to the platform as well, that through the API, through the bot that Helpshift has available, can be sourced into that conversation with the customer rep. So if you want to see the level that the player was on, if you want to see the health, the class, the car that the player was driving, that data is there, and the statistics have already been calculated in Backtrace. Like I said before, we can detect that a group of errors has, for example, 41% was driving in this type of racing car and 23 was driving in that type of racing car. And all that information can really easily be exposed to the customer agent as well. So that's what I quickly wanted to show what was going on under the hood at Backtrace and all the data that's available to Helpshift as well. Any remarks you have there, Greg, before we move on?
As someone that just loves data, I think this is just an amazing sight to see. And then when you start to loop in the Helpshift data, you can add to it as well. How many of my VIPs versus freemium users were experiencing this issue? I think it's just a gold mine of information to help you really understand, hey, where are my issues lying? How can we get ahead of this? How can we make sure we reply to our customers about the types of issues that they're having? I think you can build some amazing dashboards from within Backtrace to really help understand what's going on. Okay, so thanks, Vincent, for showing off Backtrace. I know we're running close to our time here, so let's just do a quick recap on what we just saw. So the first experience we showed was a mobile gamer who had an issue with their game crashing. They reached out. We grabbed these Backtrace logs and we were able to implement the Helpshift logs as well. So what type of user was it? What was the error code, the date, time with the Jira? We created a Jira and we were able to have the bot automatically communicate with the user saying this is a new issue. With the second experience, it was a desktop player. We saw that they were on a PC. It was Intel based. Again, same error code and same information was passed through. And again, the bot was able to respond. And then when the issue was resolved, we were able to push out an update. We bulk updated everybody, letting them know that the issue is resolved. And if they had any questions, they can let us know. Anything else you want to talk to about the demo we just showed off, Vincent?
Oh, well, we explored a little bit like all the data that's present in Backtrace, that native crashes are captured on all the different devices, and although on the debug view they look different, the normalized views are basically the statistics that you get on that are kept like sort of platform independent, and all linked with Jira. Jira tickets automatically created. Yeah, I think those were the Cliff's Notes.
Great. So before we take questions, let's talk about next steps. Next steps are going to be, we want everyone to experience this partnership. We really think it's going to help games work through their issues that they might have on their builds and provide a good user experience. So as they continue to grow their game, they can understand the scaling of issues that they're having and how they can get ahead of it. So for any Helpshift customer, we want to be able to provide a free trial of Backtrace and help with the integration, and vice versa for any joint Backtrace customer or for any Backtrace customer. We want to provide Helpshift as a free trial so you can see what the power of having both these tools implemented as well. And if there's nothing else, Vincent, you want to add, I think we're going to open it up for questions now.
All right, yeah, let's open it up for questions. I'm curious what we got.
All right. Hi, everyone. So Vincent, I think we got a couple questions in here, and I know we're running tight on time here, but let's kind of go through some of these questions, and maybe you can take this first one of what's the actual development effort needed to kind of combine the two systems and get them to talk to each other properly?
Yeah, can definitely do that. Although I think that my network conditions are pretty bad again, so I hope you can hear me okay. The integration is actually like really easy. If you have both of the SDKs can be integrated like sort of independently, how you would normally do it if you would be customer of one company or the other. Then the link between Backtrace and Helpshift is just it's just metadata really. It's described on the support pages, support.backtrace.io. If you look for Helpshift, you just basically see what are the attributes that I need to link in order to have that support bot be able to like query the data in Backtrace. So really, we're talking about 3 lines of code once you have your SDKs enabled in the game. Maybe you can speak to the server side work, Greg, configuring the bot. You know more about that than I do.
Yeah, so it kind of ties into our other question that we got here, which is can Backtrace distinguish between the different types of crashes, so hangs out of memory and so on, that players are seeing? And the answer is yes. So Backtrace is able to get a good understanding of what type of crash it is, and that data can be passed through to our bots at Helpshift, and the bots can then make specific decisions based on a workflow or a decision tree on, hey, if it's a crash or a memory hang, do this versus do that. You can also add some factors into there. For example, if a VIP player is experiencing crashes, maybe you automatically want to credit him some credits. Those workflows are completely customizable to what makes the most sense for your player base, and we can make sure that it makes sense for everyone. So I know we're at the top of the hour here, and I appreciate everyone for joining us today, and we're looking forward to working with all of our future customers as well as our current customers, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. So any final words, Vincent?
No, not really. Thank you too, Greg.
Great.
Until next time.
Have a great day, everyone.